Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at a follow-up for the MetaWatch, Evolution Not Revolution. The latest balanced data slate has been in operation for 2 weeks now, so it seems strange that we're already getting a follow-up article, but let's see what they have to say. While it introduced a number of targeted tweaks, it's fair to say that some don't think we've went far enough. In this article, we'll talk about why we prefer to avoid drastic changes when modifying rules, and how we expect the latest update to percolate into the competitive scene. The changes in the latest data slate were deliberately light touches, but we expect they'll have an impact. This approach of making small adjustments helps us to determine how effective each of these changes have been, and what to do in response if they are not having the desired effect. If we introduce 3 powerful new special rules for an underperforming army that then started consistently overperforming, it could be tricky to work out which of these additions to reverse. The same is true for applying multiple penalties or restrictions to powerful factions. Making smaller changes gives us more accurate data, and makes it simpler to account for other factors, such as new factions joining the game and new factions hitting the tournament scene. We'll have plenty of opportunities to make additional tweaks in the future, incrementally moving factions towards the ideal win rate, between 45 and 55%. So we see very little, obviously, has changed here. It's pretty much just all the same data. Tyranids 59, Harlequins 58. Everybody else inside of the 45 to 55 range, except for Adeptus Astartes at 39, and also Adeptus Mechanicus at 39. So not much change here. It will take time for the impact of the latest changes to become clear in the worldwide metagame, and for more events to run where the effects of those amendments can be felt. It's still too early for us to see any real impact from the data slate. It was only released 2 weeks ago, on a Thursday, so no one running or attending an event the following weekend had time to implement the changes. As such, we only have 1 week of meaningful results, but this will change in the weeks to come. So they have 1 week of data, and they're doing a follow-up, basically saying, hey, I know people wanted bigger nerfs, but give it time? I don't know. Very, very strange. Very, very strange. It seems like Games Workshop is trying to claim to be data dependent, but then they're not actually data dependent. Codex Leagues of Votann will be on general release this weekend, along with the whole range of units, at which point we'll start to include their results. While the Codex is only available as part of an army set, with limited access for players and limited selection of units, we don't include its results in our win rate data. It's only when rules are available to everyone that we consider them officially part of the metagame. Okay, this is where you're going to have to get a rant from me. They shouldn't even just put this in here and talked about Leagues of Votann, because now they sound like giant hypocrites. So they're basically saying, hey, we don't even count this towards the metadata. We're not even starting to pay attention to data. We're not even worried about the data until everybody has access to it. Well, the whole reason that there was so much issue with the Leagues of Votann, and also the Tyranids, and also many of the other armies as of late, the entire codex leaked out months in advance to the actual release. So for months, everybody was stewing about how good the Votann were just from reading the rules with no actual data. And then on top of that, then you basically have Games Workshop come out and blanket nerf the whole army with rules and points based on people's complaining when there was absolutely no data. Now, I'm not saying that they didn't need some kind of nerf, but this is literally the opposite of what the whole entire article has been telling us so far. So really what the issue is Games Workshop didn't leak out the codex, and then they put out the codex in the army box. A couple months goes by, people complain about how good they are, and then by then the whole range is out and everything. So the real issue here is that the codex leaked out so far in advance that people had months to stew on it before anything actually came out data-wise. If the codex didn't leak out to begin with, people wouldn't have known all the rules, people wouldn't have been freaking out about it, so that would all be still taking place right now, and then the nerfs could come in with actual data. So Games Workshop really badly contradicting themselves right here, and in my opinion, they're just way too active in the balance of the game. It's good to balance the game. I love that Games Workshop is listening, but they don't need to listen to every single troll on the internet and every crybaby. If there's one thing we know, it's that the people that whine the loudest get heard the most, at least on the internet. And that's not good. Nobody wants to be in that situation. So again, the fact that this is coming out, Games Workshop feels like it's just pandering to like a crybaby group of tournament players or something like that. This doesn't really make sense because they basically just put out their balance and now they're coming back defending their balance. And then on top of it, they're saying we're data dependent. We have to wait till everybody has the rules and then we can make changes. And then they literally reference the squats, which is the opposite of what they did for the squats. Very, very strange. Games Workshop honestly just needs to get it together. Most people are not playing in tournaments. Most people are not super competitive. And they act like that is the whole entire scene. It's not that hard to stop one army from just sweeping all your tournaments. And it's not that hard to stop one army from just getting decimated by any matchup they have. There's definitely a balance in between there. And it just seems like they're doing too much. Let it settle a little bit and see what happens. So last weekend, Zach Kerstier's Blood Angels won the Kansas City Warhammer Open Grand Tournament, narrowly beating their Thousand Sons in the final game of the event, proving that in the hands of a skilled player, even armies that are statistically in the middle of the pack are capable of beating anyone. Congratulations to Zach on his victory, which you can watch on the Warhammer Twitch channel. So here we see his Blood Angels. We have a patrol and a vanguard detachment. The patrol is Commander Dante Lamartine, 5 Incursors, 5 Death Company with 4 Thunderhammers, and 5 more Death Company with 4 Thunderhammers. And then for the vanguard, it is HQ Sanguinary Priest with Jump Pack, 5 Death Company with Chain Swords, Sanguinary Ancient with the Relic Wrath of Baal, 7 Sangard with Swords and Inferno Pistols, 7 Sangard with Swords and Inferno Pistols, and 7 Sangard with Swords and Inferno Pistols, and then 5 Assault Squad, 2 Plasma Pistols, and then an Inferno and Lightning Claw on the Sergeant. And then we have a heavy support, 3 Eliminators with 2 Las Fusils and an Instigator Bolt Carbine. So interesting army, 2,000 points. Fairly cookie cutter, really, until we get up to the heavy support. The Eliminators are not exactly a common in a list, especially Blood Angels, but I could see where a little bit of like board control, sitting back, shooting is kind of good. While everything else has kind of run around. A bunch of small squads, a bunch of jump packs, and a couple of characters. I could see how this list would do extremely well. It does not have any psychic and has very little defense of mortal wounds and did take down Thousand Sons. So interesting once again. Very good list here. So congratulations to that. As a Blood Angel player, I can say, obviously anybody that's taking, let's be real, anybody taking 3 units of Sanguinary Guard and 3 units of Death Company, probably going to do okay. In fact, the final standings of the Kansas City Open display an interesting mix of armies in general. There were 4 different factions in the top 5. 2 Chaos Demon armies, Blood Angels, and Thousand Sons who contest the final. And the Tyranids of High Fleet Kraken. A heartening display of variety. No Harlequins or Necrons managed to reach the upper levels of the standings, which makes a change from the picture earlier in the year. And there was even an Adeptus Mechanicus army in the top 10, despite their shortcomings in the global meta. With the latest Dataslate removing restrictions and returning the core keyword to the Ironsire engines, we hope to see their results improving. So this whole article is basically Games Workshop saying, hey, I know we nerfed some stuff, but and you don't think we went far enough, but let's just give it some time to play out. We need to be data dependent. And then it's also them saying, hey, it's only been a week, and I know like nothing has really changed from this, but also look, Blood Angels won, so anybody can win. This just feels like a reach to me. It's obviously great to see Blood Angels winning. Chaos Demon's very good on top here. Thousand Sons very strong as well. Tyranids obviously. So it just feels like this, and Gas, Space Marine Creations of Bile. It just feels like this whole article is basically just to be like, look, if Blood Angels can win, anyone can. And right now Blood Angels are the best of the Space Marines, the loyalist at least. So it doesn't surprise me that they were able to win a tournament. It's not just easy where anybody can just pick them up and win. But at the same time, this is one tournament and it's one Blood Angels army. This doesn't really change anything. This whole article just seems like too much and it just seems moot. So Blood Angels 8-0, Chaos Demons 7-1, Thousand Sons 7-1, Tyranids 7-1, Chaos Demons 6-2, Tyranids 5-3. Must have scored very high to be above a bunch of other 6-2s. Chaos Space Marine Creations of Bile 6-2, Orcs 6-2, Imperium, Astra Militarum, and Grey Knight 6-2, and then Adeptus Mechanicus 5-3. The finale of this year's Warhammer Open series takes place in New Mexico in a few weeks, and we look forward to watching the games on Warhammer Twitch channel before combing over the results to determine what they mean for the meta. Over the coming weeks, we'll apply our learnings to the next installment of the Munitorum Field Manual to make sure that we are changing the appropriate number of points for every unit in Warhammer 40,000. This will be available to players in the new year, as will the next quarterly balanced status slate and new chapter approved mission pack. So we have the points updates coming for the Munitorum Field Manual at the beginning of the year, and then we have another balanced data slate coming for the quarter, and then on top of that, a new mission pack. Well, here's the thing. That's massive changes. So if you change points, that's going to be a big deal. You change a balanced data slate, obviously that could affect the whole armies, and then if you change the mission pack, that's going to affect everything. Because for instance, right now, characters are extremely good. Unique characters, special characters are very, very good because if you have to pay for all of your relics and warlord traits, lots of characters basically have a relic built into their stats. Some really cool weapon or multiple weapons that they don't have to pay for. And then many of them have multiple warlord traits as well. So you get away with basically getting multiple warlord traits and also multiple relics for a fraction of the cost, command point wise. So again, that's what Games Workshop is making these changes, that's making certain units really good. And then at the same time, they're sort of like, oh no, these units are too good now. It's like, it's you guys. You're the ones doing this. Very, very strange. This is probably the most hypocritical article I've ever read from Games Workshop. Basically saying like, hey, I know you don't think we did enough, but don't worry. We'll do more, but in time, we have to be measured. And then on top of that, they're like, oh God, we heard you guys crying about the squats, so we're completely nerfing them. And if you keep crying, we'll take Tyranids completely out of the range so no one can play with them again. We're so sorry. Just calm down. It just seems like way too much. Balancing a game like Warhammer 40,000 that constantly receives new armies and units is something of a moving target. New rules have an impact on every other army currently in the game, and the updated points values mission pack and balanced status slate are a great opportunity for us to recalibrate. Sue Black from the Warhammer 40,000 design team sat down with Warhammer TV presenter Nick Baton for more insights on the balanced status slate and the results from the Kansas City US Open. It's a great watch if you want more details and context of thinking behind the game balance. As always, our thanks to everyone organizing and playing in the events. Pass on the data to inform our ongoing balancing process, and those who send their questions to 40kfact@gwplc.com to help fine-tune the game. So yeah, in my opinion, Games Workshop is just way too involved in the balance of the game. There is absolutely no reason that they should be making changes and then coming out a week later to either defend or reinforce those changes. This game this isn't a video game where you just make changes and then everything is immediately reflected right away. If you change a unit or its point cost or an army, people may have to get a new unit or remove that unit or change its equipment or repaint those models, or there's many things that happen and happen slowly in this game. So to act like everything is just going to happen immediately and reaction is just completely wrong. And it tells me also that GW is listening to people's feedback, but they're listening to it with way too much weight. It's definitely great to listen to the feedback from the community, but at the same time, you listen to what they have to say and then you take it with a grain of salt. You don't just listen to what they have to say and say, hey, we have a bunch of people complaining about Harlequins, so what should we do? It's like, oh, nerf them into the ground until they're not in the top 10 anymore. It's just very, very strange. So I don't know. This whole article felt basically like Games Workshop coming out after they made a decision and going, see, it's fine. Everything's okay because Blood Angels won. No, just get out of the game a little bit. Step back. Let the game kind of settle out a little bit. They talk about not making drastic changes all the time, and it seems like that's exactly what they're doing. So in my opinion, Games Workshop, take a step back and focus on the business side of things and make that run good, and then let us kind of sort out the game, and then we'll let you know when we need changes. We don't need you to change stuff every 15 minutes. Absolutely ridiculous. So if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like and subscribe. Obviously, we put out daily reactions, reviews, news, painting, modeling, conversion tutorials for Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, pretty much any of the Games Workshop games. So that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man. Let me know what you think down below. Is Games Workshop just way too actively involved in balancing the game and doing way too little of the actual business aspect? Or is this good? Do we want them constantly changing stuff and having their hands in everything all the time? For me, I would rather see them just kind of take a step back. When we need some changes, every once in a while, step in and make some changes. But we don't need you literally like pulling on every string and like shifting levers nonstop trying to change stuff. No, thank you. Let the meta sort itself out. Most of the changes that need fixed are because of you. So work on designing better codexes and more balance. Stop with the power creep and stop with the pandering. And then the whole world will be a better place. At least the Warhammer world. But that's it for today, Warhammer Man Studios. And I'm out of here.